Welcome back.
Yes, welcome back. That threw me off. I just say it like that, Chris. Come on.
I don't know. I just have to switch it up.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Who left? Who went somewhere?
Well, the listeners were gone. Now
Yeah.
they're back.
That
Yeah. It's been a whole week. Things happen in a week sometimes.
Phew. Yes, sometimes they do.
We've got a projectile vomiting 9-month-old here. You can tell how tired I am because of
all the projectile vomiting.
Yeah. He was like in the middle of the night, like 2:30, somewhere in there. He'll usually get up and want to eat some more. So I went up there to do that and then rock him back to sleep. And then I go to pick him up and I was like, what is all this on your bed? And I was like, oh no, turn the lights on, strip him down, strip the bed. Hopefully we've got extra mattress protector and a sheet and all that, which we did, thank God, because we've been through that previously and know the joys of that. So I'm exhausted today, but I've been real busy this week doing a whole bunch of stuff. This morning I published a little video that was like talking about Linux servers have a bunch of configs you need to go change. And if you're like just SSHing in manually, you're going to go edit the like SSHD config itself directly. But if you're automating that with scripts, you really want to use, like, every service has like their .d folder where you can add additional configs and they all get included and loaded from that folder. So I was kind of just, we were doing some changes to Hatchbox to use more of those because whatever, 10 years ago when I started it, it was like, I know what I would do manually to go set this up. So that was basically what I did to write the initial version. And a few things like that were still around where it was like, we just need to basically uncomment the password authentication thing and set it to no for SSH or whatever to secure that down to SSH keys only. And like, we're using sed and that works pretty okay. But like, what if that comment wasn't there? What if somebody already uncommented it? Those like situations, you couldn't necessarily guarantee that it was set properly. So it's like this way, you upload the config, it gets loaded first. That becomes at least the way SSH does it, your additional attempts at setting some value, config value, are ignored actually versus overrided, which is the normal way of doing things. But that keeps it secure so something can't inject itself later and be like, password authentication, yes. So I was doing that this week, and then we're building a custom DigitalOcean image so we can have a bunch of stuff pre-installed. So spinning up servers should be way, way faster here soon. I got to submit that to them for approval or whatever so we can use it across DigitalOcean accounts, but that'll be fun. It should be nice improvement. So I've been learning. Have you guys used Packer before?
I don't think I've used it. I know what it is, though.
One of the many HashiCorp tools. It's funny because like it's well made, but the configuration feels like it's way more complicated than it needs to be. It's got its own, templating language, and you have to understand what are sources and what are builders and what are provisioners or whatever, and like all these little things. And then you want to maybe do something like copy these files over to the server in the same directories or something. And it's like, when you copy a file, you have to do one file at a time or something for the file provisioner, but then you can do like shell scripts or you can do inline in your template, and it all works, but it feels a little like clunky to learn if you've never done it before. And then it works fine. But one annoyance I have is like for the DigitalOcean thing, it does make sense, but it actually goes and creates a droplet and then creates a snapshot from that droplet. So it's a little bit slower than if you were to spin up like a local VM or whatever with multipass. But you actually get the legitimate image straight from DigitalOcean as your foundation there, which is good, which is probably what you want to really use for production. But like when you're testing locally and you're like doing all these things, it's like CI. You're like, I don't want to have to push it and then wait for it. And then that loop is just so slow. of iteration, but getting there. And it kind of was the thing where I was like, you know what, we could copy over these handful of sed commands that we've got in Hatchbox to configure a few things. And some of them are necessary. Tweaking something and maybe like the Postgres config is like, you're not going to want to keep a whole copy of the Postgres config and then blow away the one on disk, because you don't necessarily know which version of Postgres those config options change. And it's not always the ideal option to override a file on the server, but we were like, we should do that as much as possible. It's just been on my to-do list for ages that hasn't really been necessary to like go change. But then with Packer, it's like, oh, I can just reference the same files from the same repo and then bam, all that just works. That's been really nice. Just like reuse as much as possible.
Does Packer use HCL?
Yes. You can use the old JSON thing, and a lot of the examples are still that. But yeah, HCL is the recommended way of doing things, which, works well. I'm pretty happy with it. There was just like a lot of little things of like, how do I define a variable with an array of strings? And then like, what's the syntax to override that? And yada, yada, yada. Like there's quite a bit to learn if you haven't done it before, but it should be familiar if you've used their other tools that use HCL.
Right. So for context, for anyone listening, HCL is HashiCorp configuration language, I believe. It's their kind of flavor of configuration file.
It supports functions and some logic and variables and quite a bit of stuff. So like it is not a scripting language or whatever, but it's not like too simple like TOML or something that couldn't do, or at least as far as I know. Maybe TOML can do like functions, but this can actually like do loops and logic and a handful of things. Like I have an array of packages that we want to install, and initially that was just a string that was already space separated that you just pass into apt install, but that became a very long one-line string of packages that was like, this would be nice if we could make an array of shorter strings, and they can do that, and then join function, join them by space and put them in your command and everything. So yeah, it's pretty powerful. I like it.
Yeah, that's a full-time job for some people, just working on Terraform and stuff like that.
Dude, seriously. Yeah, that's real DevOps work. Lots of stuff there for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of DevOps, I saw a message from Jamie yesterday, and he's like, our production schema has diverged from the schema in the repo. The hell? I'm like, how does that even happen?
That's not good. Yeah.
I don't even know how that happens in the first place, but he wrote like a script to like an cron job on GitHub Actions that will like check it weekly to sure it doesn't diverge. But I'm like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, like somebody forgot to add in a migration and a PR, but forgot to like commit the schema change.
Oh yeah, maybe.
That's possible. We kind of deal with that a little bit in Jumpstart. I want the schema for Jumpstart to be generic so that while the Postgres is the default, the SQLite or MySQL users can switch over. And I've even put if statements inside the schema. So it's like for Postgres, you use a JSON B column, and for MySQL, use just JSON. And we do that in some of the test suites too for Noticed and whatever that test against multiple database types. That way, like the schema load that runs when your test suite boots up can actually do the correct thing. So it's kind of cool that when those are in the Ruby format, you can do that. Because if they were like a structure.sql, you would be tied exactly to your specific database.
Are you tired of babysitting your job queues? Let us do it for you. JudoScale monitors and autoscales your job queues so you can stop babysitting and get back to coding. We support Sidekick, SolidQ, GoodJob, and just about every other job backend in Rubyland. And of course, we autoscale your web services too. JudoScale scales up your apps faster than any other autoscaler, so requests, timeouts, and backed up job queues are mitigated before they become a problem. JudoScale has a free plan you can use forever, so there's literally no risk, whether you're on Heroku, AWS, Render, or any other cloud platform. Visit judoscale.com and get your job queues under control.
What were you going to say, David?
Oh, just kind of questioning about somebody committed a migration and didn't commit the schema file, wouldn't that generally just get caught the next time someone else ran a migration?
Well, wouldn't Rails stop and say unrun migrations?
I don't think so. Well, I'm not sure. In production mode, is there
Maybe
any check there?
Not sure.
I'm not sure because it's got to run in production, and
Like,
it
I
is
can't
gonna
run
be-
my local server
even if you committed
I
it.
haven't run the migration.
Well, and
I
even if you
think that's a
committed it, like
developer
when
only
you,
setting. I think production by default is set to not do that because you don't want to bring the app down if you forget to run migrations.
Well, and think about
That's been my experience. When I have forgotten to run migrations, the app is still up and you try to do something and then you get an error because the database field doesn't exist that you're trying to access.
think about this too. Like if you did commit the change when you deploy, Rails is going to restart. Well, no, never mind. I was thinking about like the schema file during the deploy is actually the new stuff that actually isn't ready or doesn't match production until the migrations do run. So the like code on disk will not match the production schema when Rails boots to run the migrate command. So it might actually be kind of tricky to set a check there for that case, or you'd have to skip it when you run the migrate task or something. Not sure. It's a
Yeah.
good question. I mean, these are like the little weird edge cases of the framework that you just get to take for granted for years and years and years until you're like, huh, how does that work? You don't even think about it until you're like, oh, I guess we maybe do want to worry about this because, yeah, this weird situation happened.
Yeah, now I'm curious because there have been times on Heroku where we'll try to deploy, but the migration that's taking place, even though we've done all this stuff with trying to skip timeouts and like this and that, sometimes a migration will fail partially because it like times out in Heroku. It has been added, but like the schema version hasn't changed. So then you have to go in and like update the schema version. But
oh, yeah, because it writes to that metadata table. And
yeah,
the AR metadata or whatever it is.
yeah. So you have to then tweak that. But so it's possible something like that happened and some did the wrong version or something. Sure. But now I'm kind of curious to figure out exactly how this happened.
Claude could tell you.
Claude's been doing all along.
Fable 5 supposedly, every new release supposedly takes your entire job for you. So one of these releases, it's going to be real. I hope.
I still haven't tried Fable because I'm like, I don't have anything that I'm like, I want to burn my whole like usage on. But we were.
Yeah, I don't want to burn my entire life savings on this yet. But when I'm ready, I will.
But I did
all in on black.
Last week we were cleaning up a project that we had finished related to the Stripe stuff that I talked about in the past. So we use flipper flags. So there's flipper flags all over the place. There's dead code that needs to be removed, this and that. We were going at it in the standard way we normally clean up a project. And then before my coworker logged off, I was like, because we had Friday off. So on Thursday, I was like, yo, you should tell Fable to finish cleaning up the project and just let it run while you leave. And to its credit, it basically did. I think we had to follow up with another PR to finish some stuff, but it cleaned up almost all of it. So
it's awesome. This week, just having it do a code review, there are so many little things that like logically I was just focused on X, but then you have it do a code review for you and you're like, oh shit, that other edge case I introduced or forgot about or something. And then you're like, well, paid for itself right there. That's good because we would have fixed it. We would have caught it, but it would have been in production and it would have been much more of a pain. And I'd rather fix it now than before it goes to production. There's some great stuff there, but what was it? There was a tweet the other day from somebody that was talking about, is it Dax Shepard, that CEO of Open Code or whatever? But it was like a post talking about even they struggle with, no, not that as a comedian, Dax Shepard.
I was going to say, I know that name,
there's-
but I don't.
But there's
Bell.
there's a Dax. He may have the same name. I don't know. Brad, RAAD. Yes. See how tired my brain is. But yeah, it was just like an interview with him. It was like, we do this for a living, and like that's all we live and breathe. Building open code. It was like even we struggle with how to actually be productive with it and stuff. It can be so good, but also so like distracting, and then you like end up doing all these different ideas. And there's been countless times this week too, like I'm doing support and somebody's like, hey, you don't have this feature, and I'm like, that's not a good use of my time, but that's a great use of Claude's time, and I'll send it over there. And that's great. It's kind of like having your own junior developer or something or more. But that I'll have to include this video. I think I found it, but he talks a little bit about that, and it's like a nice contrast to hear that conversation compared to what you hear from old Dario, where every 3 months you're going to be out of a job and there will be 0 developers ever again because AI is just so good, bro. That sort of like pitch, it's a sales pitch.
It's just like any tool. Like it depends on who's using it as to how effective it will be or how good it will
it's
be.
like you still got to guide it. You still got to do all that. Like it's not going to do all of the work. It can't think the same way. And it's really killer at doing specific tasks. That is for sure. But higher level things of like go architect a hosting platform, you can't just tell it to do that and it turned out a good product for you. Maybe one day. That would be killer.
I had a situation with it where before going to bed last night, I got like a burst of like productivity, which is like my ADHD and my productivity is like, you have no idea when it's going to happen. When it happens, it happens. There were like a few tickets in this new project we were working on. Like I finished like the main one that kind of blocked 3 other ones. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll see if Claude can just kind of iterate through these 3 block tickets now that this is done, base it off the branch I made and kind of work through them and like push a PR for each. Well, that worked mostly well until like number one, there were so many merge conflicts that I had to like fix every time I merged one of the PRs. It's like, okay, well now you've got all these merge conflicts you have to fix. Great. And then the other issue is that there were 2 tickets that weren't exactly overlapping, but one of them kind of restated something that happened in another ticket and it referenced something that it didn't know about. And this morning I'm like looking at this PR and I'm like, okay, like I think the stuff is there, but I'm so confused now because it puts some stuff over in this other PR and then some stuff here. And I don't know like where things are. And it like, because it didn't have context on this other thing, like it made these guesses. And I'm like, we're gonna have to go back and we got to go back to this one and look at this. Got to the point where I messaged my product partner. I was like, yo, I think I've untangled this, but after the podcast, I need you to like get on a call with me and just sit there and be like with a checklist and be like, okay, yep, that's there. That's where it's supposed to be. Cause I'm like, I'm kind of lost in this now.
Yeah, that's quite a challenge. That's just generally a challenge with or without AI. Is like, just how do you organize all this stuff? Your applications get so big, so fast. How do you organize it? We have several places where we have just big, long scripts of like logic of, and we configure Caddy for all of the impossible situations we need to support for different customers. It's like, yeah, it's just a whole bunch of, well, if it's this case, then we need to do this, but not in this other case. It's quite messy. And kind of our like server configuration was similar, but it was a lot more straightforward. It was like, is this an application server? We will install the app dependencies. If it's not, then we will skip. And if it's a web server, we'll make sure Caddy's installed and configured and yada, yada. But I just went through because that was like, it started out as a fairly small file, starting to get long. And then I went back and pulled out modules for it because I was like, I do this in my models and everything for like one-off sort of features, like a user password reset or something like that could be a module. We can set up the provision script and have it as the kind of parent that inherits all the same code. So it's basically the same one big class, but it has now compartmentalized each individual feature into its own file. So now I can go look at each one of those and I'm like, this is the stuff that concerns this specific thing. I can totally ignore all the rest of the things and just focus on how do we install MySQL on this and make sure that we have like the official MySQL package. That has been very, very nice and such a small thing, but you got to make the effort to do that. And half the time I feel like I don't know what I want or need. So I can't even begin that process because I felt like that for a while in this file. But then it wasn't until this week where I was like, all right, I think it makes sense now to go pull these things out. Whereas previously it wasn't bad enough to, but you start to feel those areas of your app and feel they're like hard to understand. And that's a good sign that it's ready for some sort of refactoring. And half the time it's like, there's a concept here that we've never put a name on it and we just like code around it, but we should probably give a name to it and make a class. And this is a concept of a breaking down our caddy file thing. Rather than it just being like, okay, it generates the whole caddy file, you could break it down into caddy file global options and applications and default apps and just split the logic out into those little areas. And then it becomes a lot easier to reason about. And hopefully that also makes it easier for AI to comprehend too, because you're giving more things names that way. Honeybadger is a performance monitoring and error tracking tool that combines the best monitoring features in one simple interface, with support for all the frameworks you use. It's everything you need to gain real-time insights into the health of your applications. Be sure to bookmark honeybadger.io. That's www.honeybadger.io.
There's a limit though. So like I found this skill from Thoughtbot that was called like Rails Audit Thoughtbot. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like I'm going to install this and run it on the app. And it basically used Ruby Critic and Reek and Flay and Flog and ran over like the entire app. And some of the stuff I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like maybe that is worth doing. But a lot of the things, there was one big group of things where it was like, okay, you have this God object here and it's a big file. So you instead should just split it into concerns. And so it's not that big of a file. And I'm like, but what actual benefit do I get from that other than having to look in multiple places? Now, like if it was used in other places, then yeah, sure, concern. Let's share that code. But if it's if let's just concern it for the sake of keeping the file shorter, I'm like, I don't know about that.
I don't subscribe to that, but I do in the sense that like just if that feature can be pulled out into a single spot, I will do it. If it doesn't overlap too much with the other things, because if you have, say, a couple methods you pull out into a concern, but they are used all over the place or whatever, it may not make sense to do that. Or maybe it does. It depends on the context quite a bit there, but definitely wouldn't do it purely just to make the big file smaller.
Yeah, because the other thing it flagged with that, basically the same wording was like, the worst rated files in your app are your mailers. And I'm like, what? Why would that be? It's like, well, you have these long mailers. I'm like, well, we got a long amount of emails. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and they're split. Like, it's not just one mailer file. Like, there's multiple mailer files. But it was like, you should just put these into concerns. And again, like, but that doesn't help me. What does that do for me?
That's a good example of that, where it's like, there's no benefit of breaking out the mailer. And like the mailer's doing a little bit of logic, mostly so it can render the templates. Like it's got to just get the data ready so it can render it, similar to your controllers. You don't just randomly pull out a few actions and put them in modules in a controller, but you would if it was reusable stuff. And that I think is different and makes sense there. Yeah, that's funny.
Your user mailer and your student mailer are the most complex files in the code base. I'm like, that's just fundamentally not true.
The thing I was going to say, but slipped my mind until you said that again, was like, you remember the era of everything had to run through like the linter, but also the code quality reports. And if this file is more than 1,000 lines, then you got a C minus. And it was like, what? Why? This isn't giving us actual reasonable things. It's just kind of like some heuristics that kind of assume that anything over 1,000 lines maybe is complicated and maybe is worth refactoring. But it was like methods couldn't be more than X number of lines. The number of characters on the line couldn't be over this. And people got really religious about that. And I was like, this doesn't really seem to be the Ruby way. The Ruby way is there should be 100 different ways to do it. And whatever makes the most sense in your context is what you should be able to do. I get the linter version of this where it's like, we just want, for the most part, consistent syntax everywhere, but it's not trying to enforce random kind of rules like that. Like I always thought that was strange and never really got into it much myself, but I know people were very religious about everything's got to pass 100% on the code quality report. And I was like, God.
I got into that when I was...
You would, dude.
Yeah,
you would.
I am the type of person that would get into that. But it was like earlier in my career. It was earlier, and I was like, for me, it was more of a way to like learn what to look for. I think I kind of like evolved my own opinions from there. And I'm like, okay, well, I disagree with this, but it's good to have this in mind that this is something you could watch out for. But then I'm pretty sure I worked on a team that had like a Rubocop rule that a method couldn't be over a certain amount of lines. And I'm like, this is just stupid because now I'm like refactoring this method for the sake of having less lines. That doesn't do anything for me. It just moves the code somewhere else.
Yeah. I do remember like in my earlier years, occasionally it was, okay, I get it. These 3 or 4 levels of nested if statements definitely should be better. And the code quality thing and be like, what the fuck are you doing? This is an F. And I'd be like, fair enough. That was kind of helpful for some of those things as you're learning, like, okay, prefer to break things out into methods or extract. If you have these chain sort of conditionals, extract methods that do that conditional, then you can give it a name and you can say, rather than if X is true and Y is false, then do this. Give X is true and Y is false a name. Extract that out to a method. Then you can just say, if some situation question mark, do the next thing. And like that was actually really useful for me coming from, say, Python, where we didn't have question marks and method names and those kind of things. But as you're learning like that, I did find useful, but that era seems to come and gone. And I feel like it's gone a few years now almost. I haven't seen many people using the code quality tools. I almost forgot about them, frankly.
I think it totally makes sense for a shop like Thoughtbot, though, to be utilizing them, though, because you're like, I'm coming onto a brand new code base. I need to get like a lay of the land. And like those types of tools are really great for that, just to kind of like
especially
give you like a quick pointer of like, okay, by the way, like this user model is 5,000 lines long, just FYI. It's like, okay, well, that's good to know.
They're coming into projects they have never touched before, could be 15 years old or something. And then it's like, okay, where the hell do we even begin? And that gives you an immediate like overview of like, here's the nasty bits, probably want to focus on those, or that's going to be where the most time is going to be spent. Maybe you with fresh eyeballs can come in and just like refactor a few things, keep the same logic, use the opportunity to write some tests to make sure you didn't change anything, but they're definitely useful in cases like that. But as a day-to-day thing, like I do not want that. Occasionally, it probably wouldn't be bad for me to come back to look at, all right, it's been 10 years. How's the Hatchbox code base doing? Because you also get so familiar with your own code base. Periodically, having a fresh set of eyeballs looking at this, could be new hires, could be Claude or whatever, but code quality check periodically is a good thing to do time to time. And who knows if you actually have the time to go fix those things or not, but it could be in the back of your mind where like, I know the upcoming feature I'm going to be assigned to will touch this. So maybe I'll tackle both things at once. I do that a lot where it's like, yeah, this is a little messy, but I'm going to go fix this later because in order to pull off this new feature, we got to touch this area anyway. So
Right.
why not?
Code coverage has started to be one of those things I also am like, yeah, I don't think this is important. A while ago, when I first joined Pody, I think we had like SimpleCov or whatever that GitHub app is that will like post it on your PR and be like, oh, by the way, like you dropped the code coverage by X%. And then it broke for some reason. And then there was a ticket for me to like fix it. And then because of the way we like do our parallel testing, I was like, this is actually kind of complicated because at the end of every one of these parallel steps, we have to upload an artifact of the code coverage. And then at the very end, combine it. And then this just seems a little unnecessary. But the idea of code coverage got brought back up to me this week. And I'm like, I just don't think I really care that much because I feel like AI writes many tests and most of them are not useful. So if anything, I've been like cutting down.
It's real good
tests.
at doing that.
No, it's so good at doing that. I'm like, I don't need you to write a test that my component outputs this string that has no logic behind it. Like it's always going to be there. Like I don't need a test for that.
It's literally a constant. Why are we testing this?
Yeah. So I don't know. The whole
I feel you on that.
It's good to have good code coverage. Like we have more tests.
What's
than
a better metric though would be like monitoring your Honeybadger or app signal errors. And it's like, look, if we get more than 10 of this specific error in a week or something, spin up an agent, go fix it, and then make a PR for it. And then let's just monitor our errors and use that. Because like that's truly what you don't have coverage on that is important. I think that's the big thing is like, yeah, you may have coverage on stuff that is unimportant and it doesn't matter. In fact, it may be bad because when you have to change it in the future, now I've got to decide on all these tests. Do we keep them? Are they actually useful now? And that becomes a big distraction. Whereas like you want to just make sure that your production users don't see 500 errors. That seems like a better metric, which is in the past, the nice part about where everything is going with MCPs and whatnot is just more APIs. So you can get access to that data. Whereas in the past, it was like, look, the best I can do is run your test suite and tell you how many methods weren't called. And it's like, oh, that's fine, I guess. It's not as applicable to real production use cases or the real world like you would want it to be. So it's like a simulation of that. And it's our best heuristic we can have. But now you can just be like, well, we'll connect it directly to our error monitoring service and then have it take care of things. That's a cool improvement that would have been very hard to predict 10 years ago.
Yeah. We have like a triage thing where when new it would come in, it tries to see who might have caused it and if a recent change might have caused it and like who made that change.
Oh, yeah.
I saw one today that came across. It was like, oh, we got a new action view template error in this location. It was likely caused by my project partner because of this change that was made. Actually, that's probably the problem. And that is something we're going to fix. That's really useful.
So useful. Yeah. It's caught a few things like that for me this past week. Deploy something that made sense until it got to production. And it was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that edge case. And then you just want to look at, a lot of times that's the most likely thing. If a new type of error comes in since the last deployment, it's likely tied to one of the recent commits that were recently deployed. And it could be a few deploys back or something, but still, that's a very strong hint that it's probably related. And then if you can just throw AI to analyze that for you, and it can be like, here's my summary. And we're starting to see just all kinds of customers on Hatchbox, like they'll set up something or need to do something weird and then ask us about it. And we'll get a support ticket that's like, here's my conversation with Claude about the situation. It's not always understanding the whole, doesn't know the internals of a Hatchbox and how we do things. And it can read the caddy logs, it can read your Rails logs, it can read whatever. And then what you can't do as a human being is look at the freaking Linux timestamps and then translate them to UTC and then translate them to your current time zone and then look at the Rails logs, which actually might be in your current time zone. That kind of crap, impossible to deal with yourself. You'd just be like scanning through there and like, I have no idea what time this request came in to Caddy, but like hopefully there's a header that tagged the request ID or something that we can tie these systems together. And now it's like, I don't need to do that because I can just throw it at a tool that already knows how to take the Linux timestamp and find exactly you're in Eastern time. Let me convert all those. We'll find the exact same thing in the Rails logs and tie these up together and voila. That stuff's incredible. That's the real time savings and stuff with AI. That is phenomenal.
We have something that does that for our logs. And I used it the other day because we got a ticket. It's like something happened in Stripe. It was supposed to happen on this date, but their subscription was canceled on this date instead. And I'm like looking at the Stripe logs. And I'm like, did we cancel? Like, why was this canceled? Yeah. And I could not figure it out. I used our log skill and I'm like, okay, here is the subscription ID. Figure out what happened on this date related to this. And then by doing that, I was like, oh, we didn't do this. Stripe did this on its own. Like,
oh, nice.
So like it was a part of like the Dunning flow. I was like, oh,
right.
So
yeah.
That's why. So it's useful for finding those things when you're like, I just don't understand. Like, and I can read logs,
like the events in Stripe and the logs will show like your API requests, and then they'll show some events as well that may be triggered by them or whatever. But it's still hard to match those up because it means like I did make an API request and then these 7 events happened, but were they all triggered from my thing? Or did it just happen to be the timing where that was a chain of events from Dunning flow or something? You never know. And that can be really tough for you to go through.
While we're on this AI topic, I don't use open code. A lot of my coworkers do. I just keep using Claude like directly. And Claude has 2 built-in skills. One's called review, where you type /review and you give it a PR number, and one's /code review, which reviews changes on your current branch. And I was reviewing my coworker's PR today, and I'm like, this all looks good, like, but it's kind of big, so I'm gonna ask Claude to review it too. And it was like, yeah, pretty much everything looks good, but there's on this one place you call these methods like 4 or 5 times. They're not memoized. So if you were just to memoize them, like you would have a big savings. And I was like, oh, you're totally right. Like I didn't spot that just by reading it, but it was 100% accurate. And we were able to memorize that. Cool. Well, just got some savings there.
Yeah, that stuff's awesome. Cause like one of the examples that we deal with is like, we have this scripts to set up your servers in Hatchbox. And we need to install some default packages, but depending on what the server's job is, its role, you might have a application server that also runs Postgres. And you might also have one that's just dedicated to Postgres. If we need to install or add the Postgres repository, then we need to add the files and then do an apt update. But there are various situations where we might end up running, just to be safe, apt update multiple times. And it's like, well, that's not really what we want to do. Like, it's just a wasted time for everyone that it's going to hit a bunch of URLs, see if there's a new version of it, and then maybe download it. Well, we literally just ran it 5 seconds ago. There's really not much reason to do it again, as long as the sources were already added. But then it's like some of these edge cases are, well, depending on the roles of the server, we may or may not be able to guarantee that. So in the case of just a Postgres server, the apt update hasn't run yet for the like app dependencies. So then we need to run it in this case, but in the other case, we don't. And then I could add logic for that, but then that just makes our code base really complex for almost no reason. It's like the tiny trade-off of another 500 milliseconds running that command or something that was basically a no-op the second time around. Worth keeping that over optimizing every single call to that just for the complexity of it. But there were so many times where like you don't even realize you're calling something kind of expensive and you forgot that you could even memoize it and just save it. And you're like, it's going to get cleared out at the end of this request anyways. So it's totally fine to memoize it and we don't risk that being cached forever or something. So yeah, that is also really handy because AI can absolutely catch those little things that you may not think of. Speaking of some AI stuff, do you follow Josh Pigford at all? He made Barometrics.
When I was on
Back in the day?
Twitter, I did, but now
Yeah.
that I'm not on Twitter,
You don't use the internet anymore.
now that I'm just a Redditor in my cave.
Josh is just like always coming up with new ideas, but I just wanted to shout out his recent Chrome extension. I think it's going to have a Safari and Firefox and stuff, or he may have already gotten Claude to do it for him. But one of the fun things is like, you know, all those little ideas you have that you wouldn't have time for because like this is open source browser plugin, like it's not going to ever make money. But the frustration when you're on Amazon and there's all these like gibberish character names for the brands. Well, there is Duracell batteries, but there's also blah, blah, blah batteries, like all these other ones. So he basically had the idea of like, I wish I had a Chrome extension that had a list of valid brand names or something, and I could just like mute those visually in Amazon's website in the search results. So he made this thing called knockoff.shopping, I think is the domain. And it went viral immediately, which makes sense because it's such a good little concept. Those are the things that are now possible that it'd be cool to build in the past, but you would have to dedicate some serious time to actually like, how the hell do you make a Chrome extension? I've never done this before. What are the permissions I need to do? And yada, yada. Well, you have an idea now and you just say, hey, Claude, get to work. And then you go viral, which is fun. The hard part is like, all these are going to be great for about a month or something, a week or whatever. And then he's going to be on to something else. There's really no value in it's a cool idea, but like no long-term value in this thing. And maybe he can set it up where people can make pull requests to add like a valid brand name. Cause like one example was Ugreen. They make power banks and chargers and stuff. And they're a quality brand, but like they weren't on the list. So somebody was like, whoa, we need to add that. But it's cool to think that in theory, that could be automated where you could say like, hey, Claude, evaluate this PR. And if it makes sense, merge it and cut a new release. But it could also probably be abused where you're like, I have my spammy brand. I'm going to make sure we get on that list. And you could probably get around that too or whatever. But interesting to think that you could possibly create a project like that. And then it just lives a life of its own, completely unattended. That's insane to think about.
You probably could with the GitHub automated workflow stuff that they've added.
Yeah.
Copilot.
You almost certainly could.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that those things are going to be a little too open to abuse or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
It's,
especially like if someone gets one off at you and they just start submitting issue after issue just to flood your bill or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Fable 5 maxed out in 5 seconds today.
Yeah. I said, hey to Fable 5 and it used my half my weekly usage.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, this is funny. I just opened your favorite website, Twitter, and Taylor Otwell posted, quote, how much marketing experience do you have? Like a question directed to him. He goes, none. But once I created this thing, people tattoo on their body and name their daughters after. I knew about people having tattooed Laravel on themselves, but I didn't know that people had actually named their daughter Laravel after him in the framework. That's cool.
That could be a nice girl's name.
Yeah. There's somebody with the Laravel, Wisconsin plates. That's cool. But yeah, that's funny.
I really want to customize my license plate, but I don't know what to do. So many options. Dude, I just gonna close this webpage.
I know what we need to do. I figured it out. We need the license plate bet. And all of us are in different states. so we can all get the same license plate in each state.
There we go.
We'll
See,
get
the
Jason to do it in
casinos are legal
Tennessee.
here, though, so I'm sure
Yeah,
someone's
that's-
already got that. Someone
It's
who wears
also
a
so
pinky
short.
ring.
It's probably like a higher price or something. It's like
Yeah.
domains.
Someone posted on the
Ooh,
Arizona
that's
subreddit like
what
a
we should
list
do.
of license plates that were available that were like 2 or 3 characters.
That's it. I was just thinking about that. We can be the domainers of license plates. We're squatting license plates
Squat license
and
plates.
just selling them for 10 grand a pop or something.
Can
Like,
you squat a license? Because don't you need to purchase the license plate? And doesn't it need to go on a car?
yeah,
I'll
but you
have to
got to purchase the
junkyard.
domain too.
That's
So you just got one car. You're going to have a truck because you're going to have the bed of the truck full of purchased license plates.
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
you just
yeah.
meet people in the back alley behind the high school. So you're looking for Laravel. I think it's in the pile here somewhere.
Yeah,
It'll be 10 grand.
just dealing license plates. Love it.
There's only a limited amount. So in theory, we can look at the price and then we can find investors too. So we know if we bought out every single permutation of the first, say, 6 digits or characters or whatever, we could probably buy every single license plate in this state that is unused or untaken. And then we pretty much own the state at that point.
Well, then you got to start a
Then we
feature
become
add-on
governor.
service where you're like, if someone else has the license plate that you want, we'll go steal it.
yeah, we'll be our own brokers.
yeah. We'll wait till they go to the mall, jump with a screwdriver.
Well, you pay us $1,000 for us to ask that person if they're willing to sell their license plate
Yeah, there you go.
that we sold to them in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if they do want to sell it, then we take at least a 30% cut.
oh yeah,
like-
at least.
Yeah. Oh man, why didn't we think of this before?
I don't know. We need to cut
whole
all this
software
from the
thing is-
episode so someone doesn't steal our idea.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
Why is there like a huge
Man.
gap at the end of this? Oh, that was our $1 million idea.
Yeah. We should run this through Claude and just confirm it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure Claude has other improvements we can make to this idea too. Like,
Yeah. Like just
there's no way
counterfeiting
there's any
ones.
flaws. Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
Let's just not guarantee
we
that
can-
they're valid license plates.
We'll sell counterfeit ones, but we'll also sell a verification service to know for sure that they're valid. And
There you go.
we have like the certified pre-owned policy, like when you buy a Porsche or something. Well, we've inspected this license plate and we know it is legitimate.
Yep.
Like there's so many opportunities to make money here.
Yeah.
Dude.
Like for an extra fee, we'll get it registered.
Yeah. Title and dock fees.
Yeah.
Obviously.
We'll send our own
Insurance.
cop.
Insurance is big. What if it gets stolen?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. We'll steal it back.
Yep.
This
Yeah,
segment
you're going to
should
need
be-
regular service too. Every 5,000 miles, we clean it for you.
Yeah, we'll clean the license plate for you. Send someone to your house with a Windex.
Well, that's extra, but
Well, yeah,
you got to bring
obviously.
it to us for the included version.
Yeah.
This
But
segment
we
should
will
be
have
titled
popcorn
"Remote
at the
Movie
office.
Off the Rails."
On the road.
Oh, we could do it for railroads too.
Oh, do trains have license plates? That's a good question.
They will now.
Hey, I have seen what's that Nick Cage
Planes?
movie where he's like the Russian warlord guy, and where they were like sometimes the Coast Guard would come and we'd have to repaint him with a ship like really quickly. That
Yeah,
could be
yeah.
a service.
What was that movie? War something.
War,
Lord
God
of
of-
War.
yes.
Lord of War.
Damn,
Man.
jeez.
We'll see if he's interested. He could be
Yeah,
our first
yeah.
investor.
We'll get him on a commercial. Super
Just
Bowl,
call
here we
him
come.
He's got Lord of War license plates. That's what we need.
And then at some point, we'll have to see if we can sell them back to the DMV, right?
Oh,
Or
yeah. That's
unused
another
inventory.
business model.
Yeah.
Another option too is when you open up, say, any text editor in your computer, you can choose many fonts. So we could have premium fonts for these license plates as well.
Mm,
That could be another one. We don't
yeah.
want everybody using Enter. Like
No.
you don't want to be the same.
And then we'll have to sell some of
Freaking
those
wingdings.
contraptions that lift the plate up when you're going through
Comic
Oh
Sans.
yeah, the
services.
James Bond ones.
Yeah.
The rotates. You buy 3 different plates and it rotates like a triangle thing.
Yep.
That's perfect. And then obviously, like we might as well do the rest of it. The bit, smoke, thing come out of your tailpipe and oil slicks, spikes that drop out of the back of your trunk.
All completely legal and street worthy. Yes.
Hey, I mean,
and then obviously, like,
we're not selling quality. Like, use at your own risk.
and obviously the Bond franchise is going to want to get involved too. So we'll be like the next Aston Martin DB5 or whatever. We'll just have like our logo all over on the bumper, on the tailpipes, whatever. Yeah.
Our own custom popcorn bucket when it goes to theaters.
Yeah, there you go. You press a button and a trap door, butter drops on your popcorn or something.
See,
like
we're
from the lid.
over here.
Yeah.
Jesus, someone get some hot dogs on fire.
It's kind of surprising why we're not billionaires yet.
I know. I wonder that all the time. So much closer to being a CEO than being a millionaire.
Oh, well.
All right. I got work that has to get done. And now my brain's going to be stemming from this idea.
Yeah, we got a lot of ideas. Yeah, we got a lot of things to go build now.
I need to go buy a domain,
and a lot of license plates.
Yeah, and a lot of license plates.
I'm going to go head to the DMV now.
I'm going to go head to the mall.
The people who get in line at the DMV behind you is like, you might want to just go home.
Yeah,
like,
I'm going
to be here for a while.
I'm going to be a minute.
Well, see, Arizona has like, you don't have to go to the DMV. There's like licensed places that you can go to instead. What's the cost to rent the license plate place? Like,
shoot, we might as well just franchise one of those or like buy one of those as our starting place.
Oh, yeah.
They're in the right position to make all this possible. That is probably the place you want.
That's our starting. It's where we break ground.
Yeah. All we need is some funding to go buy one of those, and we are set.
I know there's some people listening to this that are like, damn, those are some great ideas, and I have money, and I'm willing to invest. Just hit us up, and we'll talk about it.
Done deal.
Then we can pump the stock.
So many ideas. I love it.
All right, gentlemen, that's a wrap.
That's our business secrets.
That's our, yeah. Make this a premium podcast you have to pay for.
Yeah, it should be.